Good morning, beautiful people. It's Wake Up in the Den alongside Paul Brecht. I'm Kule Agbayani. Welcome to the show on Hawaii Sports Radio Network, 95.1 FM, AM 760, hawaiisportsradio.com. And it is a beautiful Monday right now. So, of course, we are streaming live on YouTube as we speak. So hello and shout out to everyone that's already tuned in early. Probably just our moms for now until everyone starts coming in. But we appreciate all of you guys. Again, this and every Monday we are streaming live on our YouTube channel, or you can watch it on demand also after the show is POW. But we got a lot to get into today. Again, going from 8 to 10. You guys can text us at 808-888-KGU1. That's 808-888-5481, because I know there's a lot to say and there's a lot to get into following a packed weekend and also following the rumor mill that has been circulating so far, which we will get to in just a second. If you guys don't know what we're talking about, well, you'll know quite soon, but it's all over the message boards already. There has been some stuff on Twitter. I've been getting a lot of messages, so including our friend Alan Mia calling me up this morning on my drive to the studio. Not even kidding. Like, he called me and was like, hey, what's going on here? And I'm like, well, if you saw my tweet this morning, I said on the show that we will talk about those rumors that you are hearing too, my friend. But we will get into that. Obviously, we're going to get into a lot of Hawaii football following a very disappointing loss at Utah State. I think that kind of sums up what we witnessed on Saturday, just a blowout loss. I guess maybe the bright side is we got to see a good amount from the backup quarterbacks, and one definitely stood out significantly more than the other, which was nice to see. But other than that, it was just both sides of the football were just brutal. It was ugly. I wish I could blame the cold, but it wasn't that cold. And I know there's elevation, but that's football. Like, you travel. People have won on the road in worse and dire situations, so it can't be an excuse every single time, because teams get road wins. Good teams get road wins, and it was just unfortunate what we saw on Saturday. But again, we'll get into more of those details. Other than that, though, nice successful weekend for the University of Hawaii. We saw a fun game last night at the Simplify Arena at Stan Sheriff Center, with the men's basketball team coming up on top over Weber State 73-68 in overtime. So free basketball, everybody, especially over there. Shout out to like around the 2,000 or so fans that were in attendance. You guys were loud. Like, it was awesome.
Very loud.
You guys were engaged and loud, and I loved it. And I'm glad we were treated to a win at the end of the game. We will get into basketball, volleyball, of course. Mahalo again to Kate Lang and Taylor Ikenaga for all that they have done and for dedicating the last 4 to 5 years to the Rainbow Wahine volleyball program. We said, it's obviously the season's not over yet. The regular season still has a couple more games. They finish off on the road, and then they clinched, because of the win on Saturday, they clinched a spot in the Big West tournament as well. And hopefully they can go back to back with the Big West Conference tournament and then punch their ticket into the NCAA ticket as well. So long way to go for them to officially say aloha to the program. I think even Coach Robin had said during the post game that, it won't hit me until it's over, like until the last game is POW and the season is officially over, including the postseason. So until then, we'll hang tight, everybody, and not get too emotional about our departing seniors, because we're expecting them to continue for at least another month and playing for this team, at least. But yeah, all right, lots to get into. High school football as well on deck. But I guess we should just talk about it from the beginning with all the rumors going on.
Rip it off.
Especially when I'm getting the phone call from Alan. And that's why I'm like, oh my goodness. All right, well, I guess it's kind of all getting out there. And I love how he is like, because I'm like, who did you hear from? And I love how he's trying to get information from me and he won't tell me who he heard from. I'm like, oh yeah, everybody wants to tell. Everybody wants the information, but they don't want to tell me where they're hearing all the information everywhere else. All right. So everyone that doesn't know already, there has been rumors swirling around. I want to say it hit the message boards like last week or something, and was kind of interesting. Shout out to you message board people. I don't really go on the message boards because it does get a little toxic. But for once, we are in agreement with everything that I saw in the message boards. It was crazy. So, and then Twitter has been really supportive. So there are these rumors. I don't want to like hide it or anything. But I do want to confirm that they are just rumors at this point because I have not received official confirmation from the university or anything like that. So, for the media, it is all just rumors, but I'm not going to hide from it. So the rumors that are out there, in case you guys haven't seen yet, is that University of Hawaii Athletics Director Craig Angeles could be on his way out. And the rumors are split with which direction is the out. Like, is he leaving or is he being pushed out? All of this stuff. I do love the creativity and the speculation by the message boards because they are very descriptive on what their thoughts are with what the situation could be, to someone overhearing conversations at a golf tournament that happened last week, which is how they found out that something was going on. So it's out there, everybody, with AD Craig Angeles. But again, not official. So do not get ahead of ourselves. According to, obviously we've asked around. There is nothing official, but I know it's something that has been, if I have multiple people like reaching out, texting, calling, I'm like, you know what? Let's just squash it for now, that they are just rumors. We will wait until they're official. But if, say, it is, I do want to take this time to more so if it is something that is coming from the university side and Craig being pushed out, that would be the most shocking thing to me, just because he's done so much already. He's only been here for just under a year and a half. I did the math. I went back. I was like, hey, got hired this date around this time. He's been here for about a year and a half, and he's accomplished so much. And not only has he accomplished so much up to this point, but there is a lot that has yet to happen. Like that Nike deal, it's close to being done, but it is not signed, sealed, delivered, everybody. So if Craig were to get ousted, then if you're Nike and you're looking at this, you're like, what just happened? This person we were negotiating with is being pushed out. Like, do we want to do business with the university? If like, what is going on? So now you'd like the Nike deal could fall through. Who knows if in the process they upset Adidas? So Adidas is like, no, thanks. And now Hawaii is kind of left with maybe Under Armour again or New Balance. But even then you're like, if there's no, again, it'll depend on if and when anything is official and what the official reasoning is behind everything. But it just wouldn't make any sense to make the change right now when there's so much going on and he's already accomplished a lot, right? Getting us full-time into the Mountain West. Before that, he did attempt to listen and to look at the bigger picture and try to go into the newly revamped Pac-12 or whatever it's going to be. So he looked at that. Obviously, the numbers didn't make sense. He was very transparent in our interview with him, right? And that's what I've always appreciated with Craig, is that anytime we do interviews, he's very, very good at being open, transparent about the discussions, and almost over-explaining, which I love. I'm just that type of person that I love the explanation of this is why these decisions happened and this is why I made them. And sometimes, yeah, maybe you don't agree, but he explains his thought process. And I've always been really appreciative of that. Another big thing he did to make money for the university was add more courtside seats, right? Like, and hey, media gets, you like the new seating with where the media is, the elevated.
I'm a big fan of the change.
So got rid of the excess media seats, got rid of like anything, and basically unessential personnel that needed to be courtside, where you fill it in with more seats to make more money. Courtside, unessential courtside.
Oh, fine.
That, hey, we can make more money. And not only that, but he was also looking out for the Stan Sheriff Arena, like people that do the court. Because if you guys don't remember, basketball and volleyball, they actually have to flip the configuration of the seats because it would be different. So going into the season is like, why would we do that? That's just extra work for everybody. And of course, Rich Sheriff agreed. Like, yeah, we have to flip the court every single time. Yeah, they just still got to take off the Terraflex and all that stuff. But before, they would have to flip the seating courtside as well. And it's like all this extra work. So makes more money, less work on the facilities people. Let's do it. And he went in there and he did it, got it done right away, and like raised like, I think it was like $500,000. And now facilities in the arena don't have to work as hard. So did that, the Nike thing. And when Pac-12 didn't work out, there we are in the Mountain West. The Big West decision should come sometime in December, which I can't imagine why they wouldn't want to keep Hawaii, but we'll see. We'll wait and see what happens with that. But some of the things that are left to be worked on, the TV deal, because again, the Spectrum deal ends. There's a 1-year gap between the current Spectrum deal ending and then the new Mountain West deal, or Hawaii going full-time in the Mountain West. So what do you do to navigate that? And then there's the house settlement with all the NIL stuff going on, everything. Mind you, Craig has a law degree. That's what he went to school for. He has a law degree. He can navigate all of this stuff that's going on. And again, if he were to get fired right now, there is no renewal in place currently for head coach Timmy Chang. So for football. So who's going to either decide to not renew or renew Coach Timmy Chang when the season's over? If this change were to happen where an AD, there's a vacancy, like who knows when the new AD, because you got to go through the process, the search committee. Like we could be in the middle of spring.
Notoriously good about going
We
fast.
could be in the middle of the spring season or spring camp and still not have an AD, and Timmy doesn't have a contract, or we don't know what's going on with the football program. He has to recruit. If you're a recruit, I would be asking that question. Like, well, are you going to be there when I go there? Why am I going to commit? So it's like, why would you make this change right now? Like when the rumors started going on, and I'm glad you guys like kind of agree too. It's like, one, Craig has done a lot. But also, why would you even want to make this change now? It makes absolutely no sense to me whatsoever, because from a business standpoint, like, you can't make this change now, ever. Like, yeah.
I've been a little shocked to see the rumors even start. And obviously that means they start from somewhere. I don't get it. Like, and once again, I do want to remind anyone, in case you tuned in late, this is not us breaking any news. This is not saying an official change has been made, but this is addressing the rumors that have been floating now for probably 4 or 5, maybe longer days than that, where you hit a lot of the points on the head there, right? I mean, making a change at this point in the year would be disastrous for the University of Hawaii. I mean, I don't know why any athletic director would try and come on and sign on to the job early to help you out. I don't have much belief in I have a lot of belief in Craig Angelis and what he's done for a lot of the reasons that you stated. He's kind of a guy who gets stuff done, right?
Yeah.
He's a pusher. That hasn't been the case. Before he got here, that really wasn't the case. Things kind of were stuck in stagnation. I would worry that the people who are currently in the offices right now would maybe revert back to what they were used to for a long time. Because, I mean, that's just human nature, right? A lot of people, once you get the boss that goes away, I mean, think about once sports stop. For a lot of people, they kind of lose the discipline that they had while they played those sports growing up. That's the same with adults, right? Where you lose a boss who might always be on your okole, but you also were really at your most productive. And that's what we've seen from the UH athletic department and what we've seen. I mean, you didn't even really mention the charter flights, which also saved money for the University of Hawaii and specifically the football team. You bring up a great point in, what's going on with Timmy Chang, because let's say Craig is gone one way or another, whether it's his decision, the school's decision, whatever, the Cookie Monster's decision. You sit here and you're like, okay, hey, new AD, your first decision, you're either going to fire the guy who is a program legend, or I guess let his contract run out and let him go, or you need to make a decision and extend him. That needs to be your first call as soon as you're on the job. On top of that, does it impact the stadium at all? I mean, shoot, we've been worried about how there's one bidder and blah, blah, blah. I know it's gone into the next step. That doesn't mean we can't go backwards again. You bring up the Nike deal, right? I mean, losing that would be very, very bad for Hawaii. If you follow Casey Smurthwaite on Twitter, he gave a few additional details about what some of the negotiations look like and what Hawaii is hoping to put pen to paper with Nike about. And it's a pretty significant jump in terms of apparel and all of those things. I mean, this would make no sense at any time, but specifically right now where you have football season just ending, you have basketball season going, you have men's volleyball season coming on up, who, by the way, we're still talking about where are they going to end up with Big West, MPSF, and, all these things where you take that portion of the move. Plus, you bring up also the move to the Mountain West. Like, hello, this is a really, really important time for the University of Hawaii to not have change or not have question marks on their end, because there are so many outward already that this would just be an absolutely baffling, and I mean baffling, decision to let him go at this point in the year, or really at the end of the year, because of the amount of steps forward the University of Hawaii have taken to get to Division I standard everywhere else. I mean, you and I talk about that all the time, where, I mean, there are a lot of wonderful things about UH. There are also a lot of things that they are pretty far behind on in 21st century college athletics, and they're just now finally starting to catch up with this regime, with Craig Angelis pushing the sled, with, everybody in that department. But obviously, it starts at the top, and I would be exceptionally worried should we lose that.
Yeah, and I also want to, before we go to our break and switch to UH football talk again, just to double down on what we've been saying. This is just a rumor. This is just us kind of like giving our reasonings as to why it would be shocking if there would be this from a UH end to let go of Craig. Like, hey, maybe he gets a bigger good job somewhere. I get it. To note, though, because I've seen this question asked and brought up on the message boards about Craig Angelis getting an extension, I do need to know or tell everybody that he is actually not contracted, shockingly, and shocking that he even accepted the job that he would. So he does not have a contract. He is an at-will employee. Again, yes, that's our state, everybody. One of the most important positions for athletics in the D1 institution that we have here is not contracted. So take that how you must. They could theoretically let him go for little to almost no reason, which would be shocking if that were to happen. But I do want to also tell this personal story with Craig because, I get it. I'm sure from a professional environment, he just wants to get stuff done. He's a pusher. I get it. But at the same time, I think I'm just used to, I was raised that way too. I'm like a dad's girl, but by that, I'm holding the flashlight for my dad growing up and making sure it was straight, right? You're used to the tough love, let's go, let's move type of thing. And as an athlete, but also he's a genuinely nice guy and someone who, I talk about it with Paul all the time, not from here, but has very much embraced the culture and is very culturally aware of things and wants to do right by the people of Hawaii. And that's Craig. We were actually carpooling out to the Sony Open earlier this year, and I have told him about something Jim Leahy used to always say, in which we shouldn't call the mainland, because why would we refer to them as the mainland when we should be referring to ourselves in Hawaii as the mainland? And you're supposed to call it the continent. And that's kind of, I'm sure you guys pick up on it, that we tend to refer to the quote mainland as the continent, because that's what it is. And I told Craig that, and Craig always says the continent. Even in these official press conferences and stuff that I have seen and watched, I'm like, wow, Craig, he took that to heart. Paul does it too, but the fact that he genuinely cared that much about what I said via Jim Leahy, again, I'm not taking credit for that. Jim used to tell us all the time. But that Craig took that to heart, and now he has adopted that. And I don't think I've ever heard him say the mainland ever since I told him that story. And so stuff like that too, I'm just he's just a good person that cares and wants to do a good job here. And it would just be really unfortunate, but we will keep you guys updated if there is anything official. I think we just wanted to talk about it a little bit, let our grievance out, and we'll kind of see what happens. But until then, it is still just a rumor. So again, we're going to say that, keep saying that. It is a rumor, but I know it's a passionate topic. Text us if you guys want, but for now we got to take a break, and when we come back, we will finally get into the University of Hawaii football conversation that I know you guys just enjoyed that game so much on Saturday like we did. But we'll be right back on the Hawaii Sports Radio Network.
back to more Wake Up in the Den with Ku'ule Agbayani on the Hawaii Sports Radio Network, 95.1 FM and AM 760.
Welcome back to Wake Up in the Den. Ku'ule Agbayani, Paul Brecht, and now Michael Iscaro. Hello, Michael. You've made it. You've made it through the Monday morning traffic, and now you are ready and here for the Monday morning quarterback club.
Yes. Sorry, I'm not here on time, that I'm late. Please don't fire me. If you do, please make that a written request.
You've been waiting to say that, huh?
Oh,
he just wanted to say that. He
into
missed
our
out the
opening.
first
Well,
segment.
you said it many times. Oh, you're fired, but that was all tongue in cheek. But nowadays you can.
One day.
You gotta document everything.
Oh,
I
gosh.
don't know. You are an at-will employee too, Michael. So, just like our athletic director, you guys are the
Oh,
same
God.
level. There
Yeah,
you go.
you
Like,
guys-
Yes,
same
we
page.
are cut from the same cloth because the cow does not give milk. You have to milk the cow. And Mr. Craig Angeles, he is one that milks the cow. And, some people, I guess, don't like that.
Sorry. I love the
oh my gosh, cue Michael coming in here. I love it. I love the little laughter that Michael brings in here.
He gets the cow reference in more than anyone I've met, and it's funny because I know Mike also loves the cow
Their
reference.
shirts.
And I still think Michael is the one who finds, because it's creative too. He always finds a way to just kind of weave it into the conversation. So thank you for that good chuckle after what was an interesting conversation to start this one today.
All right, we will get into our UH football conversation here in just. Well, you know what? We'll just bypass the bottom of the hour break and we're gonna go straight through. Because why
Third.
not? This would be too fast to go through everything. All right. Well. Like I said, I hope everyone enjoyed the game on Saturday as much as we did. Hawaii losing at Utah State 55-10. Woo! Putting up. They scored 17 unanswered in the first quarter, and then second quarter seemed like, all right, we're gonna be all right. It looks like it's gonna even out now. Hawaii just needed to wake up a little bit, and there we go, going to the halftime, and then the Aggies scored 21 unanswered points in the third quarter, and the rest, as they say, is history. If you guys watching on our YouTube can see the breakdown right there from the graphic courtesy of HawaiiAthletics.com with the quarter breakdown of everything. So Hawaii falling to 4-7, 2-4 in the Mountain West. But you look at the team statistics as well. The total yards of offense, Utah State 580 to Hawaii's 309. Passing yards, though, Hawaii holding their own. It was once again the rushing yards, just putting up 47 rushing yards to Utah State's 321. And I think the shocking part about just the basic team statistics here is the efficiency of it all. Because if you look at the time of possession, Hawaii actually possessed the ball more, but Utah State able to do more with the time that they had the football, because Hawaii just over 30 minutes in possession time. Now Utah State isn't that far behind with just under 30 minutes, but again, when you look at the final score, the Aggies just able to do that much more with the football, and it was a tough game to watch. The penalty yardage there, 12 penalties for 80 yards for Hawaii to Utah State's 5 penalties for 55 yards. And I think it was almost like an instant, I guess you can say like an instant punch in the gut, because they scored that first touchdown with just 93 seconds into the game. And then you're like, all right, let's wake up. It's cold, but let's wake up a little bit. And it's just digging and digging and digging into the hole, and Hawaii just couldn't find a way out. And I think the surprising thing, and you guys know me, I don't like to say it in a way that you ever feel like players especially are not giving maximum effort, but it was a weird game to watch, right? Am I just it didn't feel like the defense felt off too. Usually we're used to the defense keeping Hawaii in the game and everything, but then the defense felt off. Everything just was off. And I think there's only so much you can blame on it being an away game and blame on it being in the cold and elevation. You shouldn't get blown out like that to this team when you have a solid defense. Now, Utah State, I know everyone is like, how are you going to get blown out to a 2-win team? They did play. They had a very difficult schedule compared to that of like Colorado State, who like just has the easiest schedule right now. So Utah State has played a lot of really, really good teams. So they're battle tested and they've put up points on those teams. But I think it was just very surprising / concerning seeing what our team was able to produce, or the lack of production thereof.
Yeah, and for the defensive side, this was kind of the perfect storm against what we've seen from a great defensive performance all season from Dennis Thurman. And one thing about Dennis Thurman is that he likes to play the chess match in terms of matching the offensive personnel with the defense with the defensive personnel. And one thing with Utah State is they were going super fast on the ball. Coach Randall was explaining it to me last week, where one of the grad assistants, Dean Schaefer, is up in the boot, and he's the one kind of reading in, like, is the offense in 12 personnel? Are they in 11 personnel? And then based on what they come out in, then Coach Thurman will send out certain packages and certain personnel groupings. But with how fast Utah State was getting to the ball, what would be our strength, where Coach Thurman will have the perfect defense to match what the offense is doing, Utah State took advantage of it. And Utah State had a very great first drive because they were lining up in a heavy package. They would line up in a double stack where the receivers are out wide, and it was forcing our defense to declare what their responsibilities were. And Utah State, they caught us in a switch too. I think Elijah Robinson got called for an illegal substitution or participation, and they take a deep shot against our number two corner. Number two corner that starts opposite Cam Stone and Devin King. And, you saw Devin King a little slumber there, but they were going to take their shot, and they took their shot, and they got it. And, we talk about the injuries to the defensive line, and I think the injury to Ezra Iwaimalo is probably the biggest one. All throughout the preseason and training camp, we hear about that first step that he has, or where he has kind of that punch, where he has that move where he can get the defenders, the offensive line's hands off so he can get penetration. But in this game, you can watch the film, and it's arguable. I mean, there's going to be holding on every play. That's just how football is. There's holding on every play, especially on the offensive line.
Yeah.
But
why you wear the same color gloves.
Yeah, Utah State, we're wearing all white gloves on our white jerseys, and that's how you can barely see it. And you think, oh, that's nothing. But that is something in the NFL. Like, you see Travis Kelce saying, oh, whenever teams play against us, everybody has red gloves, right? And then Julian Edelman was talking about how Belichick gave him a hard time for wearing red gloves, and because he got called for a hold. So there is something to it. But still, yeah, those injuries on that interior line kind of stopped us, because it's not like the running backs were running fast at the start. They were just waiting for their time and seeing where the linebacker went, and they went the other way. And that's pretty much how we lost this game, was the interior line. We can talk about the offensive side, where they don't play Judah Kai'o because they're trying to preserve his red shirt, which I don't necessarily agree with, because our offensive line is already mismangled as it is. You kind of want to have that same consistency. I think we started James Milovale, who played majority of the season because we had Luke Felix Fulalo out for. So you're taking away from the position he's played majority of the season to play a new position. Granted, he did play against UNLV at that spot in some series, but you mess up that continuity on the offensive line. That's a bad combination. And the cold, I will say I think the cold is a factor. And again, it's not as cold, but Hawaii boys, right? And they're not professionals. We even see.
I'm not saying it's not a factor. Like, I'm not surprised that they lost. Like, I'm just saying you can't get blown out this bad and blame it on the cold weather. Like, it's just, you can't get blown out like that and say it was the cold. We can't adapt to the cold. Oh, well, it's always going to forever be the cold, and that's why we will never win on the road. Like, that's the part to me. I'm like, there's only so much you can blame on the weather. Again, takes a little bit to get warm and get acclimated when the game goes on. But when you have a somewhat close second quarter and then you go into the half and come back out and you let up 21 points, I'm like, there's just no excuse for that. I do need to echo your sentiment, on what you said about Dennis Thurman, because you're right. That first touchdown, again, just 93 seconds into the start of the game, was they got down and then they just went. It was fast. And that's the same problem that Hawaii had against Sam Houston. Sam Houston was very, very up-tempo. Aside from the penalties and everything in that Sam Houston game, they were moving in that offense. Like, that move, they did not stop. And you could tell that it was a struggle for Hawaii to stay in it with that up-tempo type of offense.
It was a really tough day, guys. Just from start to finish, and you guys both put it beautifully, where perfect storm takes down what has been a pristine defense for Hawaii from the start of the year, basically up until now, and it results in your worst loss of the year when they're not playing up to their standard, and then you give an additional 5 possessions to the other team. I mean, 5 interceptions by Hawaii quarterbacks, 3 by Shager, 2 by John Keave Songopulatele. You can't expect that you're going to survive that type of thing on the road already. When they go on the road every single time, what is the whole talking point is they have to play almost perfect football when they go on the road. You know, bad teams usually struggle on the road. Bad teams usually struggle at home. They don't struggle at home. I really do believe that they have the makings of what a quality team is. It's just the inconsistencies so much have continued to pop their heads up, and then now we see them on the road kind of fall apart here towards the end of the season, and whatever long shot bowl odds that there were, now completely off the table for them. One of the lone positives, and I'm sure we'll talk about it more in this conversation, obviously getting an opportunity to finally see Micah Aliharo out there on the field and do a pretty nice job. And I say finally see him. I understand he played 2 games before, but this one actually I don't want to say a tryout. That's not the right way to say it, but actually giving a glimpse at what he could provide in the future now for Hawaii. Now that Michael brings up preserving red shirts, Hawaii did do that with Aliharo this season, so that now he can be a redshirt freshman going into next year. You have all 4 years of his eligibility, and he is technically grown with a full year under his belt as it is.
Yeah, and before we move on to the quarterback thing, I wanted to go back to what you said about the interceptions, where that was kind of like a quick high-low for a lot of people watching that game, because Cam Stone got that interception, and you're like, hell, let's go, baby. Let's get that interception. And then there's an interception right back a couple of plays later, and Utah's not only that, but Utah State, that's one of the turnovers that they did cash in for 6 points. So you're just like, oh my, because we were saying right on the show and stuff like, oh, we need a takeaway, like we need that defensive takeaway. We're gonna get that this game. And then when that happened, I was stoked, like, yeah, interception, woo, Cam Stone, yeah, da 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 da, all this glory and praise that we give Cam Stone, and then it just got messed up from the offense, and the interception that was thrown, and again got cashed in for 6 points, because I mean the defense didn't exactly get to rest that long after you just play a couple of snaps and the ball is right back and the defense is right back on the football field. So that was something that was difficult to watch, and as you mentioned, just it was just always fighting from behind, and then the turnovers after turnovers, and then you see Braden go down, essentially took a hard hit, limping at the end of the first half. So you're going in like, what's going to happen? And he already kind of looked banged up. Like some of the throws were a little underthrown, and we don't exactly know what the injury is with Braden or what part of his body might be feeling. Yeah, it could be a lot. He takes a lot of hits, but that's significant. And I know even though it doesn't seem like a lot, it can even just throw you off a little bit. Like if it's on your plant foot, for example, it will mess up how like your full body and the way that you throw the football, how far it goes, because like you're almost like wincing. Like think of like Tiger Woods and how much pressure he puts on that front leg, right? Why he's had to get surgery on it so many times in golf, and you think golf, but because the way that you step and the way that you plant, if it's not 100%, it can completely mess up your game. We don't know if it's the arm. And like you said, we don't know what it is. It could be a little bit of everything, and he's just sore. And I don't blame him, because you see how many hits he takes. But all of these little things can mess up. And then it just messes with your psyche, that you're getting hit all the time and always under pressure. So he was down, he was limping and not 100%. I'm glad they kind of made that change in the second half, because not only does it affect the accuracy and more interceptions potentially, but also just limits the playbook. We saw that in one of the other games earlier this year where they weren't running too many plays because Braden can't make the plays. And
was that UCLA?
Might have been UCLA where he got back. Yeah, but you guys kind of remember what I'm talking about, right? Where he was banged up, and you could tell that the playbook shrank a little bit. So all of those things, second half comes, we see a combination of Micah and John, and then you kind of watch a few plays and you're like, Micah, hey, like really looked pretty good there. Was getting positive yardage, and then Timmy did the switch like we've seen him do with John, and he told Steven Size right up that that's just kind of how practice goes. So he figured that that's how we continue to do it in the game. But I know a lot of fans, and including myself watching that game, were kind of shaking their head a little bit because it seemed like Micah, just basic eye test, seemed to be giving you more to the team to get positive yardage than John was at that time. And then Paul, like you brought up, the couple interceptions that were thrown, and even more so. And then it seemed like, okay, now it took a little while, then they settled into keeping Micah in there. And he did well, threw a touchdown. It was great to see, but that was kind of because it was still very much a game coming out of the half, right? So that was the part where I think a lot of us struggled with. 24-3, you can with a whole half to play. That's still a winnable game.
I mean, a touchdown makes it a 2-score game.
Yeah, so the fact that there wasn't any clear plan going into that, even with your quarterbacks, and looking that they're making the progress that needed to get down the field, I think a lot of us were a little like puzzled and troubled.
I tweeted it out myself. I think
Timmy, everyone did. And then Michael over here is like retweeting everybody.
Michael retweeted everybody. Timmy just kind of outthought himself here, I thought, because after the game he gave a little bit of reasoning about wanting to continue what they do in practice and so on and so forth and get both the guys into a rhythm, which is understandable, but don't do it on the same series. And then don't do it multiple times.
And when one guy is kind of showing like he's doing a little better.
That's the thing, right? Where one is getting into that rhythm that you were talking about. That's great. Let him do that and then go to the other guy. Or if you're worried about having to not go to or not giving a chance to the other guy because the one did so well, that's a great problem to have, you know? And I do feel a little bit bad kind of throwing Keave Songapulitele under the bus with a couple of interceptions because at least the first one came directly after one of those flips in the middle of a series where Micah was looking good, picked up a first down, maybe two of them, in fact. And then I'm pretty sure the first play, John comes in, he airmails a throw because he's not in rhythm. He's coming in a little bit more cold, and it's a little awkward to do. And it ends up turning into a turnover.
And turns up into 6.
Yeah, and that was also the case. You brought it up when I first said, or first talked about the picks. That's something Utah State did an excellent job of, where they went and they scored after they forced interceptions or forced takeaways, where even one where they had to go like 95 yards or whatever. It was just an overall better performance by Utah State, and part of it is because they just played better, and part of it is because Hawai'i hurt themselves with a couple of decisions throughout the day.
Yeah, but I will kind of support Timmy's decision for that's how they practiced in practice. So again,
Absolutely.
how you practice in practice is what you're gonna be on game day. Well, I say that, but the defensive coaches all said that they had one of their best weeks of practice, and the defense didn't show up. But regardless, at the end of practices, for those that come to practices, they have almost kind of like a freshman like showcase, right? The young players where they'll have almost like a game situation or a 2-minute drill situation where the offense has to drive down the field against, with kind of like the younger players on offense and against the younger players on defense. And it's a fun time because the starting defense are kind of giving the Kahuku War chant on the side, and then the starting offense is kind of drawing back. But in those situations, you could tell from going to practice every week that Micah was better. And there will be times where the defense would get a stop on John, and if I'm trying to keep track of whether that was 3rd down or 4th down or an interception, I don't know, because Timmy will continue to extend the drive. So, and again, this goes down to the whole quarterback situation, right? At the start of the year, yes, Timmy did name John as the backup. Was John ready to be backup? In hindsight, no, because we talk about the UCLA game, right, where Braden gets banged up, and you think at least put the backup in for a series or something like that. Get Braden checked out, get him evaluated, make sure that he's really good to go, because if he's not, then you're going to lose him for the season. But we didn't. We had Braden in there. We had a limited playbook. Now, we saw John and Micah in that it was Northern Iowa game, and they kind of did that flip-flop. So it's like, okay, maybe not. And at some point, I think Micah was ready. He had some really good quotes from from a youngster in Stephen Tsai's article that makes you really impressed with this guy. And again, he's a different quarterback than Braden Shaker. While John is kind of like more Braden, where he's more the taller, more of a drop back, physical athlete. While Micah knows he's small, so he has to like, okay, well, I'm not gonna take a hit. I'm gonna be springy out there and kind of move around and look like a little bit like Steve Young out there with his movement, or like a left-handed Kyler Murray, you know. So, yeah, I think Micah fits what Timmy wants to call on the style of offense that Timmy wants to run more than Braden and John. And we saw it in the past couple of weeks when we were winning that Timmy basically adjusted the playbook to match Braden's strengths. So it's going to be a good question, and I'm curious to see whether or not who gets majority of reps tomorrow.
Yeah, and just to kind of like make sure we get all of the information out there, to go back to Steven Tsai's article on what Timmy's post-game quote was regarding the quarterback situation, that Timmy Chang said, quote, "I didn't want to put too much pressure on one in practice. We rotate them in our end of practice deal. I felt we could get them in a rhythm as we did in practice. That was the reasoning." And to that response, Micah Ali Huddle said, quote, "That is his thought process. My job is whenever I go into the game to do my job and make plays." He tried to keep the energy going. Micah said, I feel if you start with a positive smile on the sideline, it reciprocates to everybody else. He said, "I tried to do that as much as I can. It's block out the noise type of thing. Self-faith, self-confidence is big. My belief in God is big. If I keep my faith throughout the season, I'll be good." So I just wanted to make sure we get the exact quote out there again via Steven Tsai's write-up, because in case people were wondering, like, because Michael, you're giving him a lot of credit for being, just a young freshman, true freshman, and saying those kinds of things. And that's what it looked like, though. It looked like when he got out there, he was always like, it didn't feel like his team was being blown out. He was out there and he's like ready to make plays. Like he just was like so amped up, and it was really refreshing to see when he did go out there. So huge credit to Micah Ali Huddle for that.
He was calm. He was decisive. He used his legs pretty well. I know he was sacked 3 times, but Utah State was getting in the back, living in the backfield throughout the entire day. I thought it was a really, really encouraging performance from him, and it leaves you wanting more, right? It leaves you wanting to see him again. You're curious about what the status of Braden Shaker is going into senior week. Obviously, they have the bye week first, so it got some time to recover from there. But even so, do you see Micah at some point in that game against New Mexico? It's opened up a new box of questions, which is always fun when you're closing out a season.
Yeah, all right. Got to take a break. We'll be back to continue more University of Hawaii athletics chat. And don't forget, we are always going to 10 as well, so we'll talk more UH football as well. We'll be right back on the Hawaii Sports Radio Network.
College is in your reach at Hawai'i.
Back to more Wake Up in the Den with Ku'ulei Agbayani on the Hawai'i Sports Radio Network, 95.1 FM and AM 760.
Welcome back to all of you, the beautifulest of all the beautiful people. It's Wake Up in the Den alongside Paul Brecht, Michael Lescaro. I'm Ku'ulei Agbayani. Mahalo for tuning in this and every weekday morning from 8 to 10 on the Hawai'i Sports Radio Network and streaming live as we are right now every Monday on our YouTube channel. Be sure to like and subscribe. We appreciate you guys so much. And you guys can text us into the conversation. I know we're quite active in the live chat. I think Paul has been keeping up with that. But you can also text us at 808-888-KGU1. That's 808-888-5481. Shout out to our friend Caesar. We appreciate you that you have come back and you are a good sport. And you are probably like one of my new favorite people now because you know what? You can take a little jab and playful banter and still come back. And yeah, hopefully we can get Caesar to pay for more to the university, Caesar Sportsbook. Also, shout out to Scott Robbs, too. I ran into him last night at the basketball game, and he said he tunes into our YouTube channel. So, hey, he likes to watch us on the live. So, hello,
Hi,
Scott, if you are watching right now. So, it's kind of fun.
What up, Kulei's mom? What up, Paul's mom?
The mom club.
I know we have Michael's camera working now, so there you go.
Oh,
We
hi.
can,
Hi, I'm here.
It was being
I have
giving us
shaven. Well, not really.
giving us issues in the beginning, but but we've been talking a lot about UH football as now Hawaii. It does have the bye week. We don't really know. We'll probably hopefully get updates this week, not only on Braden Shager's status, but also Peter Manuma as well. And Cam Stone took a hard hit towards the ending of the game, so that doesn't bode well either as we wrap up kind of this regular season for Hawaii. Again, all of the bowl hopes that we thought we had, the long shot bowl hopes, are officially all gone. And so is my futures bet for 5.5 wins, then the over. So see ya. I should have brought that ticket in so I could have ripped it up just like I had to rip up.
Camera.
Yeah, just like I ripped up the ticket that I had for our NFL Week 1 where I had to parlay where it was only the Bears that had won. And lo and behold, the Bears still not doing very well. But I guess I should maybe next
It was
week.
an omen.
Maybe next week, Monday, as we wrap up the football season, last game week for football, then I'll bring in that futures ticket and just rip it up on camera because, yep, I had the over 5.5, and it is officially down the drain. Because even if they win against New Mexico, the hook got me, and there you go. It's a loser.
It's a loser. The chance at the over is over, folks.
It's not over until it's under, and now it will be under.
It is under. Tough way to go out for you, my friend, but nonetheless.
I believed.
And
That's what I get for believing.
You'll probably believe again next year, and the next year, and the next year, and the next year, and the next year. That's
I will
just how
always
it goes.
believe.
Exactly. That's how we roll here at the Hawaii Sports Radio Network. Sunshine, rainbows, while still being fair and calling out what is the truth. But try and hoping for the best.
We need Ku to go on a rant like Coach Timmy did after the UNLV game about these refs. Ku screwed you off from some big plus money.
Golly.
Oh well. What are you gonna do? That's the chance you take. Literally, that's the world of sports betting.
Yeah,
but
you see how
well.
Ku'ulei didn't go out and angrily tweet at the players or the coaching staff like death threats or like anything insane. That is because Ku'ulei is a sane, good individual. Some people I know, especially you folks under the men's basketball posts that I see, you could also take a little bit of a hint from Ku'ulei and understand that betting is your own risk and not that of student athletes or professional athletes.
Kool-Aid is also a baby better, and I think about how much I am going to lose, and I only bet what I'm willing to lose, and there you go. So it doesn't get too crazy. But no, again, Hawaii will face a very interesting-looking New Mexico team that is somewhat being a surprise down the stretch of the season. I mean, New Mexico, they are coming off, if you guys missed it, they beat a nationally ranked Washington State over the weekend, 38-35. So when the season started, it kind of seemed like the Lobos were going to be one of the easy wins on the schedule. Schedule wasn't too tough. They did beat Utah State at Utah State, however, a 50-45, another high-scoring game. Lost to Colorado State, lost against Wyoming, which is kind of the surprising one because Wyoming's having that down year, and then turn around and get a win at San Diego State, and then most recently a nationally ranked Washington State Cougars team. So this New Mexico squad is going to come to Hawaii, and they will be fighting for bowl eligibility too. They're sitting at 5-6 for the season, so they have something to play for coming into town. They want to make it to that bowl game, get that last win on the schedule. So what maybe some of us thought, including myself, thought could have been especially from what we were starting to see from this Hawaii team, could have been I don't want to say an easy win. It's never an easy win, but could have been a win, right? Like to end off the regular season, seemed like it was going to be a win. I think that's fair to assume. Now it's looking more and more like a daunting task if you're like this team, again, coming off of a big win against nationally ranked opponent, fighting for bowl eligibility where Hawaii's bowl chances are all done. And this is going to be a fireworks type of game. And I hope fans will show up and show out. Tailgating again is back. And the Lobos are no joke right now.
Finish out
We're
the
still
season.
going to win.
Yeah. We're still going to win.
We're still going to win.
In overtime.
Finish out the season. I mean, listen, we did it last year, right? We saw another decently hot team in Colorado State coming in, fighting for their bowl game lives in the final week against Hawaii last season. And
we ended that chance.
Guess what happened?
It's going to happen again. Anyways, we got to take a break. We'll be right back for hour number 2 here on the Hawaii Sports Radio Network and on our YouTube channel. So don't go anywhere. We'll be right back on Wake Up in the Den.
Wake Up in the Den with Ku'ulei Agbayani on the Hawai'i Sports Radio Network, 95.1 FM and AM 760.
Welcome back to Wake Up in the Den, hour number 2. Ku'ulei Agbayani, Paul Brecht, and Michael Lascaro. Mahalo for tuning in on radio, online, or on YouTube. You guys can text us at 808-888-KG1. That's 808-888-5481. Or, you can leave your comments on the YouTube chat, as I know it's so active. I don't have it in front of me, but I know Paul is kind of Paul has it up, and we'll get to it a little later when we go back to our UH football conversation. But, I want to start off hour number 2 on a very, very high note and give a shout out to our Rainbow Wahine volleyball team. Woo!
Come on.
Kicking some butt and taking names over the weekend. I mean, just when we were like, all right, we talk about it all the time, right? Must win, must win. And I think it was the perfect setup last week when Coach Robin, it was like the funniest quote where we said from the beginning, up and down season, and she said it too, like this team still has to gel. They got a lot to work through. And she even said, I told you guys. But Coach Robin clearly very happy with especially her team's performance against Long Beach State. If you guys were watching the Spectrum broadcast, or if you guys are on Spectrum, or have seen it make its way on social media, I know I shared it. Coach Robin was very thrilled when during the post-game meal for the ladies on Friday, I started showing it to everybody, and she's just like, stop showing it to everyone. If you guys don't know what I'm talking about, please go look for it on the Spectrum. Basically, Jordan Hele in the post-game asked Coach Rob, hey, how are you feeling, or what did you like about what your team did in this game? Again, it's coming off of the sweep against Long Beach State, and she dropped the poop emoji word and everything, which it was so natural. It was so pure, and like that's just her. She's like genuinely her, and she knew it right away. She's like, oh. And then she's all embarrassed and shamed. But you know what? It was so funny. And the girls, and including like Kaleo and Nick, the assistant coaches, I was I was showing it to everybody. And she just could not. And by now I found out it went viral on TikTok. I'm not on TikTok, but I heard
know that.
I heard it's gone on TikTok. So I'm like, shout out Coach Robin. Again, sweeping Long Beach State, and then coming back senior night, sweeping UC San Diego with all the emotions going on. And they just played incredible volleyball these last 2 nights here on their home court. I mean, what a couple of games, what a season. I mean, when everything's clicking, they are hands down at least like top 2 for sure team in the Big West. Like it's hands down. Again, if everything's clicking, because we saw it's like the games that they lose, almost similar to what we see on any other sport. It's when those errors are kind of intruding a little bit, and then you're not playing clean volleyball. But what a treat for volleyball fans and Hawaii fans this past weekend to get a couple of sweeps against really good and worthy opponents that came into town and punching their ticket to officially, now we don't know where the seeding is yet. The rest of the couple of games have to play out, but they have officially made their way, as there wasn't really too much doubt heading down this stretch. But it's always good and comfortable to know that you are, whatever happens the last couple of games, you are already in the postseason tournament.
There's comfort in clinching, right? There's a reason why when you put pen to paper on a contract, you feel very good. It's why I brought that up on signing day, right? This is a team that is starting to click at the very right time of the season where, I mean, Robin joked. She told us, I told you guys, that it was going to take some time with this team, right? A young team, only 2 seniors that were celebrated this past weekend, and what a celebration that was. But it took time, and now as they've gone through this second round of Big West matchups, you see them really clicking against some top-level talent, some of these other schools that are, fighting tooth and nail for the top spot in the Big West. We've heard them talk about it, and we've heard other people talk about it. There's a reason that other teams get up so much to face the Rainbow Wahine. It's because they are the unquestioned number 1 team in the Big West and have been, as in terms of programs, for the last however long you want to, take your pick in the amount of years it's been. And this is the result of it. You see the winning DNA, the championship DNA starting to develop and come out again now as the season has ended. And it came out in a great way on Senior Weekend, where you get to celebrate two outstanding players who have given a lot to the program without much of a sweat about losing either night, Friday or Saturday.
Yeah, such good games. And before we get into more of what happened in the games over the weekend, I want to let you guys hear from a couple of those seniors, as I know Paul and the media got a chance to catch up with them following those matches. A very emotional evening afterwards with a lot of lay. We couldn't find either player after a while. They're just like walking flowers and walking lay going on. But we'll start first with the Moanalua High School grad and senior libero Taylor Ikenaga.
It's feeling so surreal, and you're never going to get this experience anywhere else. And I'm just so grateful. It was so awesome to see so much people come out, and I'm just so grateful. I mean, I don't really cry like that, but I was just trying to be in the moment, and I told myself I wasn't going to cry, but I ended up crying and just seeing so much love and being supported. I'm just so grateful for everybody to celebrate me and Kate today.
How would you describe the way you guys played, not just tonight, but last night as well?
Definitely clean. I would love to say that it was definitely a really good team win, and everybody contributed in the best way possible. And, we just had each other's back, and we played for each other, and we just came with the right mindset that, this is our last week in the stand, and we're just going to make the most of it.
Can you describe the feeling coming out of the tunnel tonight?
Oh.
For the start of the match and then right there before senior night celebration?
Just so much adrenaline going and a lot of emotions, bittersweet, happy, sad, but I'm just so glad I got to do it with these girls and the coaches because they made today so special, and I'm just so grateful for all these fans that came out to support us.
Yeah, some of your teammates were here for 5 years, but you had the traditional 4-year experience.
Yeah.
Does it feel like it went by really fast?
Oh, it did. I still feel like a freshman, and I'm so sad that it's over already, and it's just like, I'm just trying to embrace it all and enjoy the moment.
And that was UH Women's Volleyball Senior Libero Taylor Ikenaga following their final home match of the regular season on Saturday. Now here's senior setter Kate Lang.
All week I've been really trying to focus on tonight being a celebration rather than like a memorial of my career. So I'm just celebrating tonight, being here for 5 years and having the best time and having the time of my life, honestly, at UH. And I'm just celebrating every single moment, every day, every hard day, every good day. And that was just my mindset. So the tears flowed when I got to the coaches, but other than that, I'm celebrating. Tonight was a lot of pressure. I think in the beginning of the game I was putting a little bit of pressure on myself, and then towards the end I also did the same thing. But in between, I can just thank my teammates so much for having my back and helping me stand up straight sometimes when I don't feel like I can. So again, tonight was just another testament to how much this team means to me and how much they help me as a person. So we are a lot more than one player. We're a lot more than two players. We've got depth on our bench. We've got depth on our court. And this team can go a long way if we put our minds to it. So yeah, I think I'm just going to remember the support as a whole. I think that this university is a special institution, and Hawaii is a special place, and I'm just going to remember the support from the fans, the support that I have from my coaching staff, and the support that I have from my teammates, and lastly, the support that I had from my family for the past 5 years. So, support.
What was this whole day like for you emotionally, leading up to the match?
Oh boy. I woke up this morning in tears. I have a game day routine that I follow every time I'm in Hawaii, and I did that for the last time today, and that was pretty emotional, but I was just chugging along. If I didn't have tears, I was just chugging along. So I had some errands done, my family's in town, I got to do some other stuff too, keep my mind off things, but once I got to this serve and pass this morning, I knew what was going on.
Can you describe the feeling coming out of the tunnel for that final time just now before being announced?
I would describe it as, okay, this is a good answer. So before we were walking out, Taylor and I were watching Anita, and I go to her and I'm like, gosh, it's like all of athletics, it just teaches you over and over again to just choose to be positive. Like, no matter how many times you've lost, no matter how many times, whatever the score is, like, volleyball teaches you that you have to choose to be positive, you have to choose to be optimistic about the next play. And that tonight was just another challenge that volleyball gave me, is just choosing to be positive once again, and just choosing to be optimistic about it and celebrate tonight rather than memorializing my career. So tonight I just got to choose to be positive again. That was what I was feeling when I was going out there. I was choosing again.
And that was senior setter on the UH women's volleyball team, Kate Lang. And then before her, you heard from the other senior that got celebrated on Saturday, Taylor Ikenaga. And again, mahalo to both of them for their dedication to the program. Taylor just with her 4 years, and Kate being the 5 years that she was here. And Kate, she's really embraced being here. Robin sung her praises, just how much she's adapted and how much she loves Hawaii and how much she plays for all of the fans. And of course, the local girl, Taylor Ikenaga, who will now go on her career to be a teacher. So we know we love our teachers here in this studio. So Taylor Ikenaga, thank you for your service to, and I think it's, like elementary age too. And I did on our Instagram, I did have where you had a couple of her, I think either students or I don't know, but they had like the Miss Ikenaga like sign. I was like, oh, it's so cute. So a shout out. But Michael, I want to kind of get your take on what you saw from this team on like Friday and especially Saturday. Just the pure dominance against top teams and how they're able to come together. I mean, we look at the Big West standings. Cal Poly and Hawaii are at the top. Cal Poly only has 4 losses. 2 of those losses coming to Hawaii in the season. Then you got Hawaii, and then you also have Davis sitting at 12-4 as well. One of those losses to Davis coming to the hands of Hawaii. Hawaii avenging a loss that they had against Davis. So again, even though the standings are like this, Hawaii, when they turn it on, like we saw this weekend, I mean, they are just like, they are incredible to watch, and they are so good. And like hoping that this stays intact as they go through the postseason, because then we can see back-to-back Big West Conference champions.
Yeah, I don't know if we're going to get to Coach Robbins' postgame after senior night, but one thing that she does say was the players are starting to trust each other. Trust each other on the court, that they're going to do their jobs, as well as trusting what the coaching staff is saying. And we see Happy Robin on Friday night, in the postgame interview, and we have Happy Robin, and then she even has a good in her postgame where she said it hasn't hit her yet because there's still more volleyball to be played. Kind of like how Coach Bud was like, hey, we're not PAL yet. There's more games to be played. There's next week, the end of the regular season, as well as the conference tournament. But I do want to give some individual shout outs to some players that have progressed and improved throughout the season and this late rush. Definitely Stella Damien needs some credit.
Mm-hmm.
She's doing a lot better. And Tali Haka, she's coming on strong with her offense. There was times in the middle of the season where she was hitting for sub 100, like she was almost a kill to error, but she came on really strong. I think she had the match winning point on the set winning point, I think in 2 sets, even match point as well from the right side. So she's very dominant, because I know she's very viable in the back row. Like there's a lot of stretches where she'll have a really strong serving run, but in the front row, like her offense wasn't there. But now it's starting to click, and now they have a legitimate 3-headed monster at the hitting position at the pins, as well as Jason Damus. She has really come on strong. Early in the season, whenever she would go to the bench, I'd always see Coach Robin pull her aside, and Coach Robin's like, when you get a block, you got to block like this, or you got to block like this. She's just demonstrating, and she lost her spot in the playing rotation at some point. Where Miliana Sylvester is going to start. But Maddie Way started coming on. I know Maddie Way came in that 3rd set again in that Oregon State game where we were down 2 sets, and she kind of was in that role. But I think on the road trip, Jason came in, and she's been electric so far. She hit a really good high percentage, if I'm not mistaken. So yeah, those 3 players contributing offensively has made a big difference for the University of Hawaii Rainbow Wahine.
All right, we're loving it. And again, not PAL yet. Same thing. Same feeling going into these final 2 games of the regular season. Again, Hawaii finishing on the road at Cal State Fullerton and then closing it out at UC Irvine before the Big West Conference Tournament begins on November 27th in Irvine, California. A sad face, but it is what it is. All right, got to step aside. When we come back, we will get back into some football conversation and get you caught up with what you might have missed over the weekend in high school football as the state tournament has begun. So we'll be right back on the Hawaii Sports Radio Network.
Are you or someone you
on the Hawai'i Sports Radio Network, 95.1 FM and AM 760.
Yeah, try to keep up. Welcome back to Wake Up in the Den. Kule Agbayani, Paul Brecht, and Michael Lescaro. All for tuning in on radio or online, and of course on our YouTube channel right now. All right, let's get into some high school football conversation. We will start off with the Open Division that happened last week Friday and show you guys all that came about. And Kahuku coming out on top. This is crazy. I still can't believe that was the score. Scoregami right here.
Probably not, actually.
It almost threw me off just now, like looking at the score again. I'm like, was that really the score? Excuse me, it was 8-6. I should realize that not everybody is watching us on YouTube right now. Well, because I have the graphic up there, and I'm like, oh yeah, not people are actually still listening.
Yes.
So Kahuku beating Mililani 8-6 in the game 1 of the semifinals on Friday, and then a very fun game against St. Louis and Campbell. St. Louis on top 27-24 over Campbell, and we must note that Jaren Keave Sangapolu Tele, what was it? Pretty much the entire second half was out of that game. So it will be Kahuku versus St. Louis for the OIA. I'm so used to saying OIA. The HHSAA Open Division State Championship. Before I get the takes from you guys on what you noticed on that game, because I was out at volleyball, but I know you guys were covering it. Let's hear from we'll start with the St. Louis side. Let's hear from what St. Louis's Titan Lakaden had to say following that big win for the Crusaders.
You had a 3-touchdown game. Just kind of talk about your emotions right now.
It's on a high. I just want to give all my glory to my fans, my coaches, and my teammates, and just not last but not least, God. He's blessed me with just great talents and ability, and I give my hats off to him.
Yeah, you guys had a lot of adversity, before the state tournament and in this game, but things kind of bounced your way. What was the message throughout this whole game?
We've been in this type of fight before, so being down at half and knowing that it was hard for us to come back into this game. It didn't really play an effect. We knew that what we were doing was right. We just had to execute to the fullest.
You guys play Kahuku 2 weeks from now. That was a close game when you guys first played them at their place, but now you guys get them. You start with them, you end with them. Thoughts on that matchup?
It's gonna be good. I feel like in the beginning of the season we were still trying to find our identity, and now we found it, and you can see that we were able to compete with the best, and so. These next 2 weeks are going to be good, allow us to heal our body, heal our minds, and get our spirits right for that championship game.
Last question, you were the first from UH, from the class of 2025 to commit. You get to play your last high school game at Cheng Field, where you're going to be playing your collegiate career. What can we expect from you in that championship game?
I guess you could say I'm testing out the field, but it's going to be great to play in front of my fans and, just to be on that future home field that I'm going to be in after this year is going to be good. And I hope that Coach Timmy Dem is watching because it's going to be a show.
Hey. You're the best, Titan Lakaden. You are the best. Shout out to your fans, man. I love it. From St. Louis. Again, St. Louis punching their ticket into the HHSAA Open Division State Championship where they will play Kahuku. But he just gave me a chuckle though.
Like, let's go
like Titan Lakaden testing out the field at Ching next week Friday in that championship game. I get it.
That's my favorite interview.
And I'm pretty sure Timmy Chang. Actually, no, they probably won't be there because there'll be one representative from the UH team, one of the coaches. But that's
there. St. Louis grad. State championship?
Yeah,
true.
But this is the day before a game, so that's why.
It's also
I mean, if everything's
they stay out at Outrigger Hotel, so
everything's
we'll
not
see.
nailed down the night before
but it's
kickoff,
Black Friday,
I would hope.
So maybe there's some Thanksgiving, Christmas.
We'll see what happens.
Who knows?
All right. Before we get into more about those two games as well, want to let you guys hear from the other team that is going on to the state championship, and that is Kahuku. And here is what one of their top players, Amanda Carvalho, had to say following that win over Mililani.
Congratulations, first of all. The chance for obviously, could make it 4 in a row. Like how big is that for you and your team to, have a chance to do, what maybe a lot of teams haven't been able to do?
Well, it'll give us a good statement, like you had that St. Louis team, with Nick Herbig, Mason Tufanga, Jordan Botello. I've been around those guys because Mason's my cousin, so just watching that happen, I mean, I wanted that, and it's a dream come true, so we just one game left, and hopefully we can win it all, and I can have the same bragging rights as my cousin Mason. For us, honestly, it's just, going play by play. Like, maybe it would have been a bad call. All right, we can't control that, so we're only going to control the things we can. So going off of that, just communicating with our teammates and being able to play it right and being able to execute, that was the main thing.
Talk about Aiden, scoring on that block kick. But he's been really carrying this team on offense, defense, when you were out too. So talk about his leadership and him just being that guy you guys can count on.
When we first started the season, I was out, and he just had that feeling of he has to technically play like that boat way role that I've been playing, and he's here and there with that, but just being able to step up even more, it's really built him, and he just does Aiden Manutai things.
Offense kind of struggled today. This wasn't something Mililani was doing, or was it just the offense not being in sync?
Well, offensively, I feel like we weren't executing enough, we just got to go back to the drawing board, focus up, and I hope this puts like a good statement on them that, okay, we scored 0 points, but we barely got out of this win, so hopefully next game we come back and we can just run over whoever we play next.
How important was special teams for you guys? Not only in the kicking, but, I think overall special teams kind of told the story, right?
Special teams, one of the biggest things for us. A lot of high school teams don't really focus on special teams, but hey, if you don't want to play 100% of the game, that we'll take advantage of that and make plays out of that.
St. Louis, Campbell, who do you want to play in the final?
I really don't care. St. Louis, I started off my freshman year. We beat them 49-14, I think. And then, with Campbell, they're just considered the best team in the state. So either way, it's going to be good. So I'll be definitely watching the game on the bus ride home and just rooting for both sides, since I know most of the boys from Campbell and most of the boys from St. Louis. So I'm just, whoever wins, and just I hope for the best for both teams.
One fun question, was Utah screwed against BYU last week?
You know what? I would say no. There's that PI call, but they still had to drive down the whole field. Like us over here, we stopped them. They got the ball back, scored, but they couldn't convert. So, if we can do it, then Utah probably could have done it. So you just got to do the things you can control, and whatever you can't control, then it's whatever. Deal with it.
Great answer.
I love that. And if you guys don't know, that was back in the Utah BYU game a couple of weeks ago, but that was Mana Carvalho from Kahuku. And I just real quick for you guys, it was kind of funny because both Mana and Titan kind of like play on both sides and do a lot of stuff. So I'm like, I don't know how to put it in the graphic on how to describe like what they play. And because usually it's like, the quarterback or something. And
hit
it's
them with the three magic letters,
lineman,
ATH.
Yeah, ATH, the athletes that play for the Red Raiders. So again, they will face off for the Open Division State Championship. It will be Kahuku and St. Louis next week at the Clarence T. Ching Athletics Complex.
Never heard of those schools.
Just real quick, you guys, what were some of the things, the defining moments in those games, and then how do you see the championship game playing out?
The defense for Kahuku is, I've said it for a while, but seeing it again against Mililani offense that I thought would be clicking a little bit better now with a little bit more full flush of their weapons. And it took until the final moments of the game and a late timeout that got called after the play to score against that Kahuku defense. And that's the biggest thing for me from that game, where, how scary the Red Raider defensive unit is, the amount of talent on that side of the ball. And then to add on top of that, you also have a really special teams, it feels like. We talked about it a little bit with UNLV for the University of Hawaii a few weeks ago, and how big of a difference that can make on games sometimes when your special teams is so dominant. And that's what we kind of saw in this one. That was the difference, right? A blocked field goal returned 70 yards for a touchdown, and then you see Mana doing Mana things on the 2-point conversion. That they have enough juice with Matai Fuiava, the offense starting to get ready a little bit more. they're a really scary team. But St. Louis, I mean, we talked about playing your best volleyball just now with the Rainbow Wahine, playing some of their best football they have all year. They did a great job to come back in the second half against Campbell. I know that Jaron Keave Songapuolatele missed that half, but nonetheless, and this is something our Michael Escaro brought up, there's still 12-point lead, a 24-12 lead that Campbell held a portion into that second half and unable to hold, where the Campbell defense I thought was impressive all year didn't come up in the biggest moment, and the St. Louis defense did, shutting down the Sabres, which, once again, I know Jaron was out, but shutting down an offense that all year has given issues to everybody, I guess, but Kahuku, and even them, a lot of troubles there to answer with. Yeah,
well, St. Louis, I think you have to give them the edge on coaching. They have a really solid coaching staff, and, I don't know if we're going to get to Coach Tupu's postgame today, but he was very appreciative and shouted out a lot of his coaches. There was, we mentioned Titan Lakanen, right, who's listed as a receiver, slot back. At least that's what he's recruited to college going to. He's out there in the Wildcat formation running for 200 yards and 3 touchdowns. And I think one of his assistant coaches, I believe his name was Alan Kui, but while me and Kalani Takasia from Scoring Live was interviewing Coach Tupu, he just grabbed the coach. This man right here, he's like, the assistant, this man right here deserves the credit for putting tight end back there and all that. So, but it's kind of funny because, like, I think Paul wrote that this is the 16th time that St. Louis and Kahuku is going to meet in the final prep board state championship game. But you wouldn't think that St. Louis has the better running game and better offensive line than Kahuku does. That's kind of the weird thing of where I might even want to give St. Louis the edge, because they are they lost to Kahuku at the start of the season, but it was on the road and they lost on a missed field goal where they did a pretty solid job. Now Kahuku has had some additions, but no points scored by the offense against Mililani. That's something to be concerned about. But yeah, so I know Kahuku might be without one of their top linebackers in Fale Atuaia. That guy is really solid. He can drop back in coverage or be an edge rusher. But he got ejected. I think that call was questionable. So they're gonna have to appeal it, and we'll see if he's available or not. But the guy that stepped in the place of Atuaia and Noah Bridges made the game-winning deflection off the 2-point conversion. So Kahuku does have depth there on the defense side of the ball. Offensive side of the ball, you just gotta find ways to scheme it to get your best players the ball. And you can be fancy on offense, but at the end of the day, the best players is what wins the game.
Yeah, and I didn't realize this too. And again, it'll be Kahuku and St. Louis. Once again, Kahuku looking to go for that 4-peat. I didn't notice it, but I went to the tournament book at HHSAA.org. And since it's split off into the open division, it's only been St. Louis and Kahuku that have won the state championship. So in 2016, and that's when St. Louis actually went on their 4-peat run before there was no tournament because of the pandemic. And ever since then, it's been all Kahuku. So can Kahuku do almost like a little hamburger bun? And yeah, the 4-peat, or will St. Louis finally be at the top of the open division once again? But I was like, hey, I guess so, huh? That was a long time coming. All right, just a peek real quick before we go back to University of Hawaii football after a break. I want to at least get you guys caught up with what happened in the other divisions again in the state tournament. Lelehua going over to Lahaina Luna and winning 40-13 in Division 1 of the first round, and then Kapa'a 38-12 over Kailua. So now in the semifinals for the Division 1 state tournament, it'll be number 1 Konawaina hosting number 5 Lelehua, and then in the other side of the bracket, it will be number 2 Damien hosting number 3 Kapa'a at Farrington High School, and that will be this Friday. And then if you take a look at Division 2, in the first round, Roosevelt, close game, but they able to win against Kamehameha School's Hawai'i 13-7. And then on the other side, though, Kaiser, a blowout win over Pac-5 30-0. So they move on. So in the semifinals for the Division 2 state tournament, it'll be number 1 Kamehameha School's Maui hosting number 4 Roosevelt. And then it'll be number 2 Kauai hosting Kaiser, and we'll get you caught up with how those games go this coming week. All right, got to step aside. We'll be right back to go back to talking University of Hawaii football on the Hawaii Sports Radio Network.
Wake Up in the Den with Ku'ulei Agbayani on the Hawaii Sports Radio Network, 95.1 FM and AM 760.
Welcome back to all of you, the beautiful list of all the beautiful people. It's Wake Up in the Den. I'm Ku'ulei Agbayani along with Paul Brecht and Michael Lescaro. Let the beat drop. Yo.
I can't fade it out too early.
Yeah, you always got to have that part in there. We are streaming live on our YouTube channel as we do this in every Monday, so you guys can like and subscribe, please. And we appreciate you guys. And you can text us at 808-888-KGU1. That's 808-888-5481. Or comment on the live chat, which I said we were going to get into. So, Paul, I think you do still have it up. And if you can shout out and see what's going on there in our live chat as it deals with some of our University of Hawaii football conversation that we we started off with in the first hour.
Yeah, absolutely. We mentioned it a little bit. Shout out to our friend Caesar, who joined us a few weeks ago. Joined us again, said aloha fam from Maui. I hope all is well. Same back to you, Caesar. Just as predicted and commented in a past video, the Hawaii Rainbow Warriors will win no more than 4 to 5 games this year. I know I said I wanted Timmy Chang fired next season, but I think it'd be better to bring him back next year and let it be a prove-it season for him, seeing that it's the final year of his contract, which we've discussed a little bit here in the den. If Timmy does well and turns things around next season, re-sign him / extend him. If he bombs again, drop him. And then also said that he thinks that it would be a good thing should Chang not be renewed at the end of this year, and kind of goes back on to his point before about no real change from year 1 to year 3 in terms of improving the team, the program at this point. And then also agrees with Craig Angeles, if he were to leave, would be disastrous for the University of Hawaii at this point. Also want to give a shout out to Manny Lagad, who commented, add to the football stadium on campus, find the space, raise the money. It will be better in the long run. I think that's a sentiment that I've seen from a decent pocket of fans at this point, which, I mean, if you feel that way, come out and show out and support this, not this weekend, but the one after that for Senior Weekend, with a little bit of tailgating being back and whatnot. Kind of show what the environment could be if the University of Hawaii were to go down that route. Go show them what you got.
Go show them what you got.
Oh, I just want to say that for those with Craig Angeles, Just realize that the fake Craig Angeles account is not him, by the way. Just so if anybody's offended by what comes out from that account, that's not him.
Oh my gosh, yeah. If you guys are peek behind the curtain, Michael Lescaro has not been able to pull himself away from the message boards all morning. So where Paul and I are not going back on there until Paul's never going back on there. It's for his mental health. And then I have the self-control to not click on any other part of the message boards except the one that's going on right now with the Craig Angeles situation. But I don't want to go back to in there yet because I still want to focus on UH football. And I know people always bring up what's going to deal with Timmy. I guess it kind of goes hand in hand with what's happening with the athletics director situation because I mentioned this sometime last week on a show where it's the normal standard is you come in, you should turn around a program in 3 years. That's normal. This situation that we have here at the University of Hawaii is far from Division I FBS normal standard. So I almost like take back with through year 3, this is year 3 of Timmy Chang. You almost got to give him like that extra year. And the reason why I say it's not normal, obviously you have no actual like practice field, so no grass fields to practice on. You have to practice in your stadium. You don't have a true stadium, like a real stadium that you can be proud of. Everything's temporary there. Yes, they do play lights out when they play at home, but at the same time, it's not ideal of the situation. Timmy Chang was never a head coach or a coordinator coming in here, so it's almost like he was learning on the job and figuring things out in year 1, right? Like you're kind of, this is how I want to do the program. He focused on the culture changing after the toxicity following the previous coaching staff. So a lot of the focus was just changing the culture, getting the alumni back, everything like that. So you're almost already putting yourself back a year, right? You can't compare it to like, say, a Dan Lanning situation where he can go into Oregon with all the resources, with that coaching experience at the high level and come in and turn around Oregon. And now they're the number 1 team in the country in 3 years, right? Like it's not, what do we say, Paul? You can't compare, or you can compare apples and oranges. And, Dan Lanning has like the nice apple tree and we have the orange tree that it's barely like having any fruit basically. So I think that's why now I'm kind of I'm giving more grace to what has been happening with football because there's all of these things in a non-normal situation where you don't have the resources. There's NIL weaving its way into here. So you're trying to navigate all of that. But I'm very much, hey, what the fans think, I think nobody's really wrong at this point. If you say, hey, I think everyone's opinion is valid because we just don't know what we don't know. Also the cost. Now, because Timmy Chang isn't paid that much, the buyout won't be as significant. I got to look at the actual contract again. But if you look at trying to bring in a football coach that you're like, all right, this guy's going to come in and change the program. Like, Caesar's dream to bring in Kalani Sitake from BYU, which I don't think that'll ever happen. But if you want to bring in a coach of that caliber, you got to pay them. I mean, yeah, every single coach pretty much in the Mountain West right now, all getting paid over $1 million except for Timmy Chang. You have Jay Norvell at Colorado State at $1.8 million. You have Sean Lewis at San Diego State, $1.7. Barry Odom at UNLV, $1.75. Kenya Matalolo, $1.5. Bronco Mendenhall at New Mexico, $1.2. Spencer Danielson, $1.13. Jay Savell at Wyoming, $1.1. Jeff Choate, over $1 million. So all these, can Hawaii afford to bring in a coach with all this experience, pay them over $1 million? Like, there's so much to navigate. And then it brings us back to the issue at hand with the potential change at the athletic director position. The rumors, again, rumors. But I know I missed that place. I know that you're too young for that place. I'm like, you're too young for that place. That was barely my time, Michael. But it just comes back together again. Everyone's very passionate about football. What's going to happen with football? What's going to happen with the coaching? What's going to happen with the stadium? What's going to happen? If there's no leader in place at the athletics department for 6 months, because you got to go through a search committee, all of that stuff. Interim, I don't know who the interim's going to be. Are they qualified to navigate all of these things that are going to happen? And the new president's coming in, so you have to also walk the president through everything that's happening. I'm like, this would be the worst time to make a change at the helm in the UH Athletics Department and basically oust a guy with the ultimate experience to navigate you through everything. And again, he's very good at explaining his decisions. So whether he keeps Timmy or he doesn't keep Timmy, I feel like we can trust he'll be transparent in the decision-making process and why he makes the decision that he does. And I'm speaking of Craig Angeles. So if the rumors end up being true, I would just be over the moon, like flabbergasted, because I just wouldn't understand why. And now I'm not saying that maybe there isn't something we don't know and there's something really, really bad. If that comes out that he did something really bad, then it's like, oh, okay. But if it's just more of we don't know and nothing official yet, it would just be kind of shocking because of everything that's going on right now.
Well, here's the thing, too, is that if, for whatever reason, Craig is not the athletic director in the near future, the person that comes in or the interim, guess what? You have the losing situation of what to do with the head coach position with Timmy Chang. Because, again, Timmy Chang does have 1 year left on his deal. If you bring in someone new, do you want to be the guy that get rid of or that lets go of a son of the state? You know, someone that has passing records, that was in the NCAA record book, someone that grew up here, that was his dream, that he wanted to go to the University of Hawaii. He had opportunities to go to other places like USC and whatnot, but he wanted to stay home. That's a losing job for whoever steps in. So just keep that in mind for anyone that wants to bring someone in new. You're gonna set them up to fail. So but if that's the standard that we want to live by, then that's the standard we want to live by. Then, you know, that's disappointing.
It's really frustrating, and I'll echo kind of what you guys have said so far, where the reason we are so concerned about, I'll put it like this, the reason we felt the need to address rumors, because that's not something we normally do on this show in like this level, but this is something that would, in my opinion at least, I'll put my name on that, be just disastrous for the progress of the University of Hawaii athletic department, which in turn puts the rest of the school kind of behind the 8 ball, and just, it doesn't make sense. It doesn't. You guys brought it up. You're in a transitional period where your programs are moving conferences. You're in a transitional period in your administration where you're just bringing in a brand new president. You're in this strange place with not just one of your programs, but also Iran Ganat is somebody else who you have to start to think about. You have to think about the contract for Laura Beeman coming up, where, I mean, a ton of success in that program. Are we going to lock that up going forward? And, you know, do you update things in that department? Like, there are so many question marks that are bubbling underneath that, you know, if you just peel off that top layer, all of a sudden you're like, holy cow, this athletic director thing is no joke. And you're going to say, yep, let's go 6 months without a full-time person. Because, yeah, sure, you hire an interim who already is part of what's going on, I guess. So if you're really that upset of what's going on, why are we keeping anybody in the athletic department? I really, really hope that the rumors are not true, because I think that, one, it would be a very, very bad situation for the University of Hawaii in terms of their future. I also think that it would be met with a ton of backlash from the fans, from donors, from basically anyone who matters when it comes to the relevance of the University of Hawaii nationally and here in the state. I think it would be a big blow to that. So, I don't know. Really hoping that the rumors are not true. Really hoping that we're all kind of over our skis and it's just kind of taking on a life of its own.
And then we'll just look back and be like, remember when those rumors happened? Oh, well, you know, here we go. Let's go, Nike. Let's go into the new conference and all of that stuff. You know, maybe that's the ideal situation, is like, yeah, we'll look back and be like, oh, I guess those were just rumors. Yay. But that's all they are right now. Again, nothing official. Paul and I kind of went through a lot of the stuff that Craig has done so far in his short year and a half that he's been here. With everything from the conference move and switching around courtside seats, generating more revenue from that, and also putting less work on the Stan Sheriff Center staff that doesn't have to flip the court now during a during volleyball and basketball season. They just need to take off the Terraflex, and that's about it. But they didn't have to go back and forth now. But there's a bunch of stuff we talked about in hour one, so you guys can listen to it on demand at hawaiisportsradio.com or wherever you get your podcast a little later this morning. But it's a lot, and we will keep you guys updated if we can have any type of official announcement that comes through. You guys will know pretty much as soon as we know, but we'll see what happens. All right, got to step aside. We'll be back to close things out here with some University of Hawaii men's basketball, as that was a nice win and free basketball that we got to experience last night against Weber State. So we'll be right back on the Hawaii Sports Radio Network.
Are you or
Wake up in the den with Ku'ulei Agbayani on the Hawaii Sports Radio Network, 95.1 FM and AM 760.
Welcome back to Wake Up in the Den. Ku'ulei Agbayani, Paul Brackton, Michael Lescaro. And as Michael likes to tease Paul and I, we're going to close out the show with our basketball propaganda. That you guys know we can go on and on and on and on. But no, want to definitely talk about this Rainbow Warriors basketball team coming out with a big win over Weber State yesterday in overtime, 73-68. And got to give a lot of credit, though, to this Weber State team. I know we weren't sure what to expect. I know, Paul, last weekend, kind of a short preview when you were trying to think of like, oh, I can't remember the point guard's name. Well, I figured out his name real quick because he was, oh my goodness, he was so good. And I'm talking about Blaze Threet, who was just what an athlete, like what a player. So phenomenal to watch. Led all scoring last night, not just for Weber State, but overall 27 points. But not just Blaze Threet, but also Miguel Tomley was very impressive. He was another one of their guards. And by impressive, I mean, I think that's the one thing we are missing on this UH team is someone that can kind of do that turnaround step back jumper so pure and like kind of that mid-range that we saw from Miguel, because that was like stood out to me from the beginning. I'm like, and the separation he would create and then just be able to, and like getting the shot from like the highest point of elevation. And then it was just so pure. And I'm like almost every time it was like clockwork, no matter how tight the defense was. I mean, that guy knew how to get that shot open in the mid range. I'm like, if anything, that's probably like the one thing we haven't seen yet from this team with the Rainbow Warriors that would add to what they already have going. And, maybe someone will develop into that player. But Weber State, for people that didn't watch, I just want to make sure that they know that this was a very quality opponent that Hawaii had yesterday. And I liked the progression. I think I told you in opponents that Hawaii's played, started off with a couple of exhibitions. And from there kind of got better and better and better. Huh. I had to debate whether or not they were better than Pacific or not, but you know what? They maybe were the same level, if anything, but different styles of basketball. They were very well coached. You can see them changing up their defense a bunch of time, changing about like little things that they did. So I love the challenge that they presented to this UH team that is still learning about itself. We saw Tanner Christensen do Tanner Christensen things. Yes, shout out Harry Ruliadef. He was a big contributor to the game yesterday. But it was a fun game to watch, and you could hear it. The fans were loud. It was it was phenomenal, and a win is a win.
It was really impressive how loud the fans were. I will say that. I think it was 2.7 thousand people there, and it sounded like a good 4, 5, 6,000. They were screaming, shouting, and it definitely helped the Rainbow Warriors come back. A big part of their energy in that was sparked by Harry Ruliadeff, who, with about 12 minutes remaining in regulation, knocked down a big-time three-pointer, was playing some great defense while Tanner Christensen was going through some foul woes. It was a really physical game down low. There were multiple bigs that Weber State had that are as big and strong as Tanner, and it still didn't really matter because he was the offense throughout the first half for Hawaii, and then they started to figure things out a little bit more throughout the second half. This is a really respectable program in Weber State. They're a team that consistently will compete out of the Big Sky for that lone bid into the NCAA tournament, has a lot of winning DNA to them. You can see they're gritty, they're physical, they're tough, they have plenty of talent, and at the end of the day, they weren't able to pull this one out because Hawaii's end-of-game execution continues to be top-notch to begin this season. This is 4 games, 3 straight now that they've needed to execute down the stretch in a significant way, and they were able to do that. And it's different guys this time. Tanner Christensen ends up fouling out with over 3.5 minutes remaining in overtime and still able to close it out. Harry Ruliadeff doing a nice job knocking down some free throws. Gitas Namishka with another 10 points off the bench, team high 8 rebounds. It was another team win even after Tanner shouldered the load throughout the first half, and that's what's most impressive to me is the depth of this team coming together this early to win some games that really could have gone either way, and the last 2 especially.
And I need to echo the grittiness. I know you mentioned gritty of the other team, but I posted about it last night that this team, this UH team is so gritty, all caps, and like their determination, even when they're down. And I tweeted the emoji where it has like the smoke out the nostrils because I'm sitting there courtside and I'm like, that's what this team looks like the entire time. Like, I mean, Gitas, he just has that look the entire game.
He's a psycho. I love him.
He is so psychotic. He's a madman. And like, if you guys missed it, and I looked at Claire down the row because we were both like, he got a foul because the guy was too much over him while Gitas had the ball, turned around, pushed him with the basketball, and then got called for the foul because it is. And me and Claire were like, what are you going to do? Like, those were one of those fouls. Even Harry had a good foul where the guy went up for a dunk and Harry I'm like, I love this team. They are tough. Like, this is something I haven't seen in a while, and they will just not back down, and they are really fun to watch so far.
Yeah, shout out Captain Ryan Rapp. You know, we got to give love.
Came back.
We got to give some love to their Captain Ryan Rapp, who is kind of the glue guy hustle, and once he gets his outside shot to fall, he will be special. But again, want to make sure we mention Ryan Rapp, as like the last time you guys did mention Harry Ruliadeff. We got to shout out these guys. We got to shout out these guys, because we have a squad. We got to shout them out.
No, you're 100% right. I'm glad that we get to give Harry a little bit of love. He did not have his best game against Pacific. Had to sit on the bench and spent a lot of time on the bench in that game. Stayed ready, came back, and played some massive minutes in this one for Hawaii. And then Ryan Rapp making his return from a hand injury. And you're right, being the glue guy. Coach Gannat talked about that, and you'll hear that eventually when we play a Vail someday.
Yeah, because we just had too much to get to today. But this Friday will definitely be the biggest test as UNC North Carolina comes into town, and also women's basketball finally playing their game at home as well. We got to go. For Paul Brecht, Michael Escaro, I'm Kule Agbayani. Mahalo for listening. Bye.
Home of the Dallas Cowboys, KGUAM.